What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you how to take your drums from this to this. Now, before we get into it, I gotta get you guys to a couple of things. Firstly, if you like this video and you want to learn a whole lot more about music production, make sure you hit the subscribe button, give the video a like, and let me know down in the comments what sort of videos you guys want to see, because it really does help out the channel and it really helps support me. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually just picking the right samples, because if your samples sound crap, then your drums is just going to sound crap anyway. So picking the right samples is super important. Now there's heaps and heaps of really good free sample packs out there that have really good drums in them. Like Cymatics have a bunch of good packs that they give away for free. Mysteria gives away a bunch of really good drum samples. So if you guys don't have the money to go and spend $30, $40 on sample packs, scour through YouTube and SoundCloud and all that sort of stuff and find some really good high quality free ones. So first thing we're going to do is just going to create a really simple drum loop, and then I'm going to run through all the little tips and tricks that I use to really elevate that loop. So as you can hear there, it is a super simple drum loop, and I hear these sorts of drum loops in people's tracks all the time, and there's so many things you can do to really elevate this. Just a few little small tips and tricks. So the first tip is layering your claps to really get a unique sound out of them. So you're not just dragging and dropping samples and just using whatever's given to you. Really try and elevate those samples and make them yours. So we're going to run through some of my sample packs here and see if we can find a clap that fits. I think this one could be cool. And then we'll just turn this down a fair bit, and then all I'm going to do here is just drag it off the grid a little bit. Perfect. Now we'll get another one, these Jonas Aiden samples. All these Jonas Aiden samples are super high quality, so I definitely recommend going over to his YouTube channel and his website and grabbing all of these samples, because they're all free and they're all super high quality. So this sounds like. And again, we'll just drag this off the grid a little bit, but the other way. So as you can hear there, we've made a clap that is now completely our own, just by layering a couple of different claps together. The next trick I'm going to show you guys is using your kicks as percussion. Sometimes it can be super hard to find percussion that really suits your track. So if you use your kick and you do a little bit of EQing, you can turn it into a great percussion that's in the same key as everything else in the rest of your track that really works. So all we're going to do is create a new channel. We'll copy our kick down, we'll fade it off and then shorten it. Make it really small. And now we just get an EQ and EQ out all of the low end. So now we just create a little pattern with it. So now that's some percussion that is in key with the rest of our track and suits the rest of our drums really well. The next tip I want to tell you guys is probably a pretty obvious one, but it's utilizing loops and pre-made loops that you've got in all your sample packs. But don't just take a kick and then get a top loop and just leave it at that. You have to still make it your own by layering it on top and underneath the rest of your other drums. I use loops all the time. I don't think I'd be able to live without them. It makes producing a whole lot faster, but can also really elevate the rest of your drums, as long as you're not just dragging and dropping loops and just leaving them as they are. You've got to layer them on top of other stuff and really make them your own. You might come back into maybe the Mysteria pack, see what drum loops he has. So there's some cool percussion sounds in here that I might pull out. Maybe just this. And now we're going to find ourselves another loop. There's a lot of bass in that. It fits nice, there's just a lot of bass in it. So we'll just cut all the lows out. Cool, so that is already a way better drum loop than what it was previously just with the kick, hat, and clap. The next tip I'm going to show you guys is utilizing the swing function within Ableton. So we're just going to find ourselves a percussion here for this one. Maybe this one. And for this one, we're going to work in MIDI. Okay, we're just going to add some EQ and a bit of sidechain to this. Now what we want to do is utilize Ableton's swing function. So within your MIDI track, come down to the left here and click this little pinwheel, and it'll bring you into all of the swing options that Ableton has. So for this, we're just going to use swing and just scroll through until we find one that we like. You just drag them into your MIDI track here, you'll be able to test them out. 16, 15. So if we go none, you can hear this. Come back into our 16, 15. Gives just that little bit of swing. So when you press commit, you can see it moves them slightly off the grid. So it gives it just that little bit of extra flavor. Now our next tip again is going to be in MIDI, and it's how to make your hat sound a little bit more natural. So we're just going to find a closed hi-hat. Maybe this one. So you can see there, they're very static and a little bit boring. They don't sound natural at all. They sound very robotic. So all we're going to do here is just adjust the velocity. So maybe we'll select the first and third of every beat, and we'll just drag the velocity down a bit. So I think your first one's probably usually going to be louder. So you can see there, it sounds a whole lot more natural. So now I don't think I want these drums in here for this loop, so we're just going to turn those off. But they are really, really good tips to use, utilizing that swing function and definitely playing around with the velocity of your drums. The next thing I really like to use in all of my drum loops is white noise. They're a great way of filling up space and adding a little bit of extra flair to your loops. So you can see there, they just really help fill out that space and add a little bit of extra flair. The next thing I really like to use in all of my drum loops to help bring them up to that next level is just random little sounds that I find in sample packs. Things that you typically wouldn't hear in a drum loop. So we're just going to scroll through some of my samples and see what we can find. This is pretty cool. Just the very start of this maybe. So this sounds something super random that you probably usually wouldn't hear in a drum loop. And then maybe we find something else as well. So this is a pretty typical EDM sample, but I think it'll fit really well. Now you can see this is sort of turning into something that might be a bit of a call and response sort of drum loop. Now the next trick is something that's more for the mixing stage, but it really helps elevate your drums and leave some room in your mix where you don't want everything sitting in the center. Maybe this loop, we don't want it sitting directly in the center. So all we do here, come into our audio effects and open up our delay. Now we want to unlink them, turn them both to time, the feedback on 0, the dry and wet on 100%. Then we turn one down, all the way down to 1 millisecond. It doesn't matter if it's the left or the right. And then we'll sit one at somewhere between 7 and 12 or 13 milliseconds. We'll just sort of test out and see how it sounds. So all that's doing there is just pushing that sound out to the side a bit, leaving some more room in the center for the rest of your sounds. And this can really help in the mixing stage where you need a bit of room in the center for all your kick and all your main leads, and you've just got too much of your drums filling up that space. So using this delay trick helps push them out to the sides a little bit without doing too much, and really helps leave some room and just create an all-round better mix. So those guys are my 10 tips to get a lot more interesting and just all around better drums. You can hear there, we started off with this really boring loop, and within just a couple of minutes, we've turned it into something that is way more interesting and will elevate your track up to that next level. So as you can hear, it still sounds super simple now, but once you actually add all these little tips and tricks into the rest of your track, these drum loops will make your track sound so much better and give it such a better groove than just using those boring offbeat hats and claps. So guys, that's all I've got for you today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, give the video a like, leave some comments, let me know what sort of videos you guys want to see next, and I'll make sure to get as many of those filmed as possible. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.